In the heart of the city, there's a lady so divine, with a gift so rare she can read between the lines, unlocking mysteries. She's the one we all admire. With a touch of magic, she sets our souls on fire. From psychic readings to rosemary oil so pure, her spirit shines bright. Of that I am sure. On TV she graces the screen with grace. Her presence is a blessing in every time and place. Pop culture psychic, in tune with the stars. She sees beyond the veil, even beyond Mars. And when the night falls, Tracy after dark, her wisdom illuminates like a powerful spark. So if you seek guidance, look no further than her door. Tracy Brown live where wisdom does soar. Through the realms of the unseen, she'll light your way. With every word she speaks, darkness turns to day. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong. From psychic readings to rosemary oil so pure, her spirit shines bright. Of that I am sure. On TV, she graces the screen with grace. Her presence is a blessing in every time and place. Pop culture psychic, in tune with the stars. She sees beyond the veil, even beyond Mars. And when the night falls, Tracy after dark, her wisdom illuminates like a powerful spark. So if you seek guidance, look no further than her door. Tracy Brown live where wisdom does soar. Through the realms of the unseen, she'll light your way. With every word she speaks, darkness turns to day. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong. Tracy Brown lived the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong.
Hi. Melissa. How are you, Melissa? What do you have in your hand?
Oh, I have this little munchkin right here.
Who is that cutie pie?
This is Ginger. She's the new member of the family.
Hi, Ginger. How are you? Hi, beautiful. Hi, Ginger. Hi. Hi. Oh my God. He is.
Don't worry, everybody's been saying he. I was like, I'm so used to saying he because I had a dog before.
Mm-hmm.
My dog passed away. My dog passed away, I think about last year.
Yeah.
Yep, and he was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's, what happened?
What's the matter? What's the matter, Ginger? What's the matter, Ginger? Oh, you're so lucky. I want an animal so bad. Who walks her in the morning?
So, whoever saw him, everybody takes turns and stuff. But I know that she's very playful. She loves to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna put her down because maybe she wants to play with her toys. But she loves to play, loves to jump, and she likes to get into things.
That age, but thank God somebody's always home to stop her
Right.
from eating up the sofa.
Oh, you know what? I remember those days where
You
my
come
dog would be
home.
like, I would buy a nice, cute little toy. You know, I love buying dog toys. And the toy would last for one day. And I'd be like, but why? But she has a lamb chop toy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if everybody remember that lamb chop.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
she already bit lamb chop's ear off. And I'm just
Good.
like,
Good. Melissa, let me introduce Charm. You know Charm, right?
Hey, good to see you again, Melissa. Hey, Tracy.
Hi, how are you? Looking like a goddess.
Thank you. I had to wrap my head. I'm just like, this eclipse energy has me not being able to sleep. And I'm always like this around the eclipses. And so really the one tomorrow, I was talking to you earlier tonight, Tracy, that it's that this eclipse is at 9 degrees Aries. So it's squaring my sun, which is making a harsh aspect to my sun. And it's also right on my moon because my moon is 8 degrees Leo. And so with that, it's forcing me to just make a lot of changes and just really just go for it. And so, yeah, so I'm really appreciating the energy of the eclipse, but they always have me like super anxious around like a day or two before eclipses.
Yes. Well, let me tell you and others that some of the things, it's so cold right now. Some of the things that I use to help out with those type of feelings that eclipses bring, because like you, Melissa, are you being affected? Because it's in a fire sign, which is affecting me.
you know what? I feel like some people are trying to poke the bear with me, right? And I'm like telling myself, all right, just, gotta just let people just vent. And then I just slowly detach myself. But
Please, fully aware that the eclipse is in a fire sign, Aries. So
Right.
just because it's fire, I'm like, everything is like, I'm on edge. Not mentally, physically on edge.
Right.
And Neptune is fire in Aries. When is it showing up? April 1st? Charm?
Let me check the ephemeris. Yeah, because everything is in Pisces right now, so it's crazy. Like I feel for all the people with Pisces placements or the Cancers and the water people, and even with mutable signs like the Sagittarians, the Virgos, because it's causing a square. And so in astrology, the square is it creates tension, and so all these signs in Pisces right now is creating so much tension for people who have anything in Sagittarius, Virgo, and what's the air mutable? Sagittarius, Virgo, and
Libra. No, Libra's cardinal.
Yeah, and Libra's cardinal. So yeah, I feel for those folks.
Capricorn, no?
No, Capricorn's cardinal. The cardinal signs are Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer, and Aries. And so the mutals are Pisces, Sagittarius, Gemini, and Pisces, Sagittarius, Gemini, and Virgo.
Got it.
And then the fixed are Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus.
I know the fixed signs. So, but even though Neptune is going into Aries, and the eclipse, the eclipse is in Aries. I'm getting all confused. Are the fire signs still affected?
Oh, big time, because this eclipse is at 9 degrees Aries. So anybody who's a fire sign is going to have more energy. Anybody that's also a cardinal sign, the Capricorns, the Libras, and the Cancers are going to be affected because it's going to create either a square or an opposition. So I'm a
Leo moon and a Libra ascendant. So I'm getting jammed. I'm getting electrified, like somebody's doing like this to me, to my body. I feel like, oh, but my mind is okay. Like I'm clear-headed. I'm not losing my, my head, but my body is like, girl, lay down. Go lay down somewhere.
And then we also have to look at the degree, because in astrology, when you have like you have angles and you have aspects, but they need to be within a certain amount of degrees to make sense. So say you, Tracy, do you know what degree your sun is in Leo? Because your birthday's like August 4th, right? August 5th?
August 8th. I think it's a pretty high degree. I think it's in
Yeah.
the teens or something.
So if you, okay, say somebody has, like, say, for instance, like, okay, if you're August 8th, you should probably be is it July? You should probably be about like a 16-degree Leo. So
yeah, I think 14 or 16 or something like that.
So 14 or 16 degrees, the eclipse is at a 9 degrees Aries. So that's enough proximity to affect you, because in astrology, we look at what's called the orb. And the orb is how close the degrees are together when you look at two planets. So if you got a 14 degree and the eclipse is at 9, 14 minus 9 is 5. So that's 5 degrees. That's close. But if you had a 20, like say you had a 29 degree Leo sun, so that's somebody whose birthday is almost a Virgo. Like
that would be Melissa. I'm
Okay.
15 degrees sun,
Okay.
and my Libra is 21 degrees.
Okay. So it wouldn't have, we call, what we would call it is an aspect by sign and not by degree.
Got it.
But
Got
for
it.
you got a 15-degree sun, so that is only 5 degrees away from this eclipse. So this eclipse is hitting your sun in Leo, and it's energizing it because it's in a fire sign, and that's trying you. So that means that you feeling that energy, and it's activating you. But on the other hand, it's opposing your ascendant, and so but you said your ascendant is 21 degrees Libra. So,
yes.
So it's not as intense because this eclipse is at a 9-degree Aries, so it's not 11-degree orb. So it's gonna affect it, but not as intense as if you had a 9-degree Libra ascendant. So then it would really be hitting you. Yeah.
Got it.
And we're gonna talk about that stuff in my astrology class too. We're gonna get into
stuff. Let me bring that up real quick. I thought I posted it. Hold on, girl.
Okay.
I think.
You got me on my slides.
What you say, Melissa?
I said Trump got me looking up my sign, but I know I'm double Leo.
You're double
Leo?
Yeah. Yes.
No.
And Tracy, Neptune is in Aries. You're correct. I think it's it's an earlier degree Aries. So yeah, so we got this solar eclipse is conjunct Neptune.
2 or 1 degree.
Yeah, so it's definitely affecting it. And so in the sky, Neptune with the sun would make people more romantic, more spiritual, also more able to be deluded, because Neptune is a planet of delusion. It's a planet of mysticism, delusion, higher spirituality, and just escape. So it's a great time to meditate.
Yes. Okay, so this happened to me before when I tried to host your class. Hold on. I have to re-up it. Okay, let's talk about, nope, I gotta why does this keep happening to me though?
You need me to send you the image again?
Oh, no. I have the image, but it just won't stay in my computer.
Oh, Lord. Well, it's Mercury retrograde.
Okay, that's what it is. So while I pull it up, Charm, who are you?
I am a psychic medium, tarot card reader, courtesy of you, Miss Tracy Brown, who I took a tarot card, but I've been doing astrology for 20 years. Well, actually 25 years. I've been a student astrology for over 25 years. I'm a psychic medium. I have, I come from a long line of intuitives. And as far as the mediumship, I was actually running from it. I really didn't want to do it. you wake up in the middle of the night and dead people just hanging out in front at your bed, and you don't know what you're gonna see. And I had to kind of get a handle on it. And when I moved to Atlanta from Chicago a couple years ago, and I really decided to have to really embrace it, because I had a near-death experience. I almost died in 2022 after a surgery, and then I had another surgery, and I woke up in the middle at the end of the surgery under anesthesia, and there was a nurse in the room with me, and she. I just started telling her all about herself. Her mother was in the room with us, and I just started giving her messages, and I would usually tense up because I didn't like feeling other people's stuff, but because I was all drugged up, I didn't have a filter. And so this woman was so affected by the reading, because she said she didn't feel like her mother cared about her. Her mother never came to her in dreams. And she was so affected, she left out of the room to cry. And it was so healing for her, and it was healing for me to help her. And that's when I decided to really hone my technique as a medium. So I've trained in the spiritualist churches in Chicago and Atlanta, and with various courses to just hone it. And so I've been full, really practicing and doing mediumship courses to just hone for about the past year and a half, almost 2 years. So I'm a psychic astrologer. I'm also a naturopathic doctor, stand-up comedian, and actress and singer and dancer.
Don't leave anything out, Charm.
I know, right?
Make sure you throw everything in the bowl. So I had a client once tell me that same thing, that their mother had never come to them, and so she thought the mother didn't care. So it really isn't that the family members don't care. One, if you have someone that feels your emotions, it's like, how can they come through? Like, you are too emotional, which makes them too emotional. It's hard, right?
Well, for this particular woman, her mother's message to her was just that she just said, I'm just quiet. And that's why I didn't come, because I just like to be in the background. But it was profound for me, because I really had no control. I mean, if anybody in the chat, or Tracy, anybody has ever had surgery, you come out of anesthesia, and they had asked me, because I had a fibroid surgery, and they said, do you have reactions to anesthesia? And I said, well, yeah, I had a fibroid surgery 5 years ago, and I woke up and I wouldn't speak English for about 2 hours, and they had to get a translator. Now, English is my first language, but I have spoken Spanish since I was 2 years old, because we had a family that babysat us, and then I had to learn it again in school. So I've been bilingual since I was 12. And I thought, so the doctor, the poor resident, she was like, well, Dr. Timms, you speak perfect English. Like, why can't she speak English? And I said, I don't want to speak English, but I was saying it in Spanish. So they went and got the translator. She was just like, oh God, she was so annoyed. And she just told them, she said, she can understand what you guys are saying, but she don't want to speak English. And so it took about 2 hours for me to speak English. And so I thought that that's what was going to happen on this next surgery. And I warned them, hey, you might have to get a translator. But instead, this time when I woke up, I started being Miss Psychic Medium. And I mean, the first thing I told the lady was like, you love red. And I just told her about a lot of traumatic things that had happened to her that only her mother would know. And I had no control over it. But the nice thing about it is that I wasn't blocking anything, because I was always doubting the messages, like, oh, is it really them? Is it me? I don't know if I'm doing it right. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But because I was, coming out of anesthesia, it was just like nothing. And It was so profound for us both. And I really gained more confidence after that. And now, child, I'm reading folks like a book, and it's fun.
I love it. I love it. Melissa, you had someone that passed away. Does he come through to anybody in your family?
I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like in my family, it depends. Like some people in my family will get dreams of people that passed. And some people get the vision of the person visiting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that, but what I do get, only one time I had a visitor, and that was because when my daughter had passed, my great aunt had came in my dreams. I'm like, you never came in my dreams before. So she came to me and told me, she was like, oh, I got the baby. Everything's gonna be all right. I'll take care of the baby. She's fine. because my great aunt always been the highlight of the family. Like she always took care of all the kids. Like she raised a lot of people's children. And so I got a confirmation one time because I went and got a mediumship reading from Deborah Hookey.
Yeah.
That Tracy recommend. And
always.
And when I got my reading from her, she told me my great aunt name, and bam, it was like she told me, she said she has the baby, and I was like, all right. I said, see, sometimes you gotta trust what comes to you in your dreams too.
Yeah, right. Any near-death experience?
For me,
yeah,
the near-death experience I had was I almost died giving birth.
Oh wow.
So yeah, they had to do like an emergency C-section. And it was like, I don't know how people do it, because I'm telling you, labor pain is like crazy.
Yeah.
But I was in labor for 22 hours.
That's my number. 22.
I was in labor for 22 hours.
Wow. Oh my God.
Wait, the worst part is that I wasn't feeling pain. And the nurse would come through and she, they have the machine and they're like, get ready. Like she was psyching me out for the pain. And so the pain would come and I'm like this on my belly. And they're like, you're not feeling that? And I'm like, no.
Wow. Okay, we need to look at what's going on with 22, because all three of us on here with 22 hours of labor, that is not a coincidence.
Labor. And I went and
I love that.
I went and I had got at the last minute. They went and they wanted to send me home. I'm like, no, I am in extreme pain. I don't know what it is, but they just, the care. I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I went and got epidural. The epidural didn't work on me. The epidural worked on me for about an hour.
Oh, right? Damn.
Yeah. I only had like maybe an hour of not having anything. And then after that, the pain came back and I was like, listen, can y'all give me some more? Like, what are y'all doing? Right. And they were like, we can't give you any more. We give you more, you're not going to be able to walk.
Yeah.
So
is the epidural given during a C-section?
Yeah.
I didn't get it before. I did get a C-section, but I had an emergency.
That was my next question. Did you get a C-section? Charm, did you get a C-section?
No, we were on the verge of one, and I was like, I'm not having a C-section because I was going to do this whole natural. We were at the birthing center, and we were going to be in the water, in the tub, but I had an infection, and so they had to give me IV antibiotics. I had Group B strep, and it's a really bad risk, so they have to give you antibiotics during labor, and it's just Group B strep is natural in the vagina, in what we call the vaginal flora, but when you're going through labor and childbirth, it can pass into the baby. And it can make the mother ill. And so because I had that, my temperature started going up. We moved to the hospital. And I just had a stressful pregnancy because
you were doing this slow down. You were doing this at home.
No, it was at a birthing center, as I mentioned.
A birthing.
Yeah, we were at the birthing center.
Birthing centers, are those big deals still or no?
I mean, I think they're more common. Definitely, my daughter's 22, and so we fortunately, because that's when I was really supernatural. I didn't want to deal with nothing with medication and drugs. Like now, honey, I'm like,
right.
But
of course,
we were near the hospital because it was like maybe 2 blocks. And I just had a really stressful pregnancy because my baby daddy got me pregnant and then he got shipped off to the war. It was something out of a movie. And literally I was pregnant in a city with no family and he got back. I graduated college 9 months pregnant. They helped me on stage to get the diploma to get my bachelor's degree. And then, went into labor. But fortunately she was a little late and I gave him time to get back because the military was going to hold him over. And so he was able to be there, but I had such a stressful pregnancy that the labor was stressful. And so, honey, they had to get the vacuum out for my baby. My baby still got a bump under her head from where they vacuumed her out. But we made about a skin of our teeth. But I was like, oh, we'll be natural. Oh, we're not gonna have no drugs. And then that pain started hitting me. Like, oh, Jesus. And I looked at the anesthesiology and I said, George, it was a white man. I was so drugged up. I said, George, you look like you got some black in your family. And then I think I passed out, and my baby daddy, he didn't tell me for 6 months. He said, now his mother, my mother, and my auntie were all in the room, and his mother is white. He's black, but he got adopted by white people. Now this little old Catholic white lady, he told me when my daughter was 6 months old that in the front of all of them, I called him a punk ass bitch. And I don't even remember it.
Oh my God.
Yes, we have a 22-year-old beautiful daughter who's
No,
graduating.
wait, Tom. Why couldn't you say that in Spanish?
And I don't remember any of it because they gave us the oral, because I was trying to get, I think they gave me Dilaudid because I didn't want to get an epidural. So they said, let's just give you something, because I had really bad back labor. I had taken some herbs to try to bring on the labor because I didn't want them to induce it. And I took was too strong, and it herbs induced my labor, and it was homeopathy. And then I went to a chiropractor and he did acupuncture. There's one point, ladies, if there's anybody in the chat, if you're ever pregnant and your labor isn't progressing and you don't want to have to get it induced, there's a point called bladder 67. And if they hit that point and you're too early in your pregnancy, you'll have a miscarriage. But if they hit it and it's time for the baby to come, it'll make the baby come. So I had taken the herbs, the homeopathic. I had done what's called labor balm, where you drink this castor oil and that'll make you shit and that'll make the baby come because you start contracting. And then I had done all of that, and I had really bad back labor. So I didn't want drugs. So they gave me the drugs. That's what made me call him a punk ass bitch. And then finally the nurse midwife, I'll never forget her name, Lynette Casey. She said, you've been through a lot. It's okay if you need to get the epidural.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So what time was all your babies born?
I think for me, I think my daughter was afternoon, so I think it was like 1.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe 1 or 1:05, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Tom?
My daughter's birth certificate says 12:36, but my auntie.
Wait. In the afternoon or midnight?
Afternoon, because like we had labor had started that night and it went all the way. It would start that afternoon.
22 hours. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I had my son at 2:30 in the afternoon. So again, there's something there.
yeah. But the funny thing is that when, as an astrologer, we really depend on people having an accurate birth time. And so that's one thing we have to ask them, how sure are you on your birth time? Because my daughter's birth certificate says 12:36, but my aunt happened to snap a picture of the clock when she was coming out. And we have a photo that says she was born at 12:34. And that's not going to make a huge difference as far as her chart. But I know that even though her birth certificate says 12:36, she was born at 12:34.
Well, I have the same issue. One part of Brian's paperwork said 2:30, and the armrest says 2:31. And I remember thinking, why is there a discrepancy? Like, who's watching the clock? And I know it doesn't make a difference, but it bothered me. Like, get it right, people. But I actually remember looking at the clock. And it said 2:30. It wasn't digital though, and I think that was the problem. Digital hadn't appeared yet.
Yeah, we had a digital clock. What time, Melissa? What time was your baby born?
I think she was born maybe around 1 or 1:04, something like that. Because I remember it was in the afternoon.
Oh my God!
That's what I'm saying.
I had
an all afternoon baby.
Yeah, when I had the emergency C-section, they put me to sleep, so I didn't get to see anything.
Wow. Well, my baby came out blue. I'll never forget that.
Oh.
I don't know why. He's been fine ever since, but he came out blue.
My daughter looked dead when she came out. And she did. And I was just like, I was concerned. And then they had to go take her. And I was like, wait, y'all bring me my child. And they didn't have to resuscitate her, but I think they had to kind of clear everything. And then she cried. But she was, she was a pretty little baby. Lord,
Mhm.
I had a pretty baby.
Mm-hmm. All right. One last question. I think that I asked you, Melissa, if you had a near-death experience.
That was a near-death experience for me. Was
First thing, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh,
So
and
I had 2 near-death experiences.
Ooh, whoa.
In my lifetime, I've had 2. So again, that's a running theme here.
Did you leave? Did you see? Were you hovering over your body and all that?
No. The first time I had pneumonia, and I might have been about 2 months old. I think it was 2 years old. I think it was 2 years old. And so my mom said I had a certain texture type hair, but back in the day, they would put you under a tent to give you oxygen, and the oxygen fried my hair.
Really?
no.
That's what my mom said. I can't prove it. She said I had a certain texture, but by the time I came home, I did not have that texture anymore, and it never grew.
Wow.
The original texture, right? Which we see that with babies a lot. Boys have beautiful textures, and then when you cut it too early, we've now discovered, right? Remember, see, you guys are younger, but back in the day, these mothers would be like, cut that boy's hair at 1 year old, but you change the texture.
Well, it's gonna, as a black babies is gonna change textures anyway.
But when you cut it, change it immediately.
Change it
like,
too early.
You want the gradual change, but back in the day, there was no such thing. At 1 year was the mark, and it was mandated. When you cut that boy's hair, he's over 1 year old, blah, 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 blah. Nowadays, nobody does it, but back in the day, so you would see the texture change immediately when the hair starts to grow back. But I also think it's traumatizing to put the baby. I remember my son, and I was like, this is disgusting. And I swear from that point on, I never listened to too much old history that didn't feel right to my soul.
Well, it's interesting how different cultures do, because I think Hindu, they keep the baby's hair cut really short. Like they cut the daughter's hair, they keep it cut. And then I don't know about with the Chinese culture, but I know some of the African cultures, they keep the baby's head short, hair short, and people shave. Like the first shaving is like a ceremony, just depending on what kind of cultures people participate in. So it's really interesting.
In my family, we keep the lock, and you put it in your baby book.
Oh.
And you keep it forever, but I don't know for what reason. God knows he's
the baby hair. The
baby hair. It's just a thing. Yeah. It's beautiful because when I left to come here, everything I've ever collected for my son was in his baby book.
Oh.
Everything I've ever collected until we got on social media, and I handed his whole book to him. Because that it's over. Like the mothering is over.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that must have been hard to give that to him.
No, it wasn't. I didn't give a shit. Take your book. It's over.
I have a Leo moon. And so a Leo moon, emotionally, your moon is your emotional need, and children feed my emotional need. And so, when I did, I don't see patients anymore, but when I was seeing patients, I was a pediatrician, and the poor parents, they couldn't even get their children back. I would take the babies, and I'm walking around the office with whatever baby is available, because I just wanted to hold them and kiss them and I remember one of my friends said, "You're just drowning in children." I love kids, and so it's like for me, I'm just like, oh, I would have to give that back to my child. Like my daughter just asked for her Social Security card and her birth certificate back, and I was like, oh,
And it killed you to do it. How old is she now? How old is she?
22. And she's an Aquarius.
Paperwork, child. I was like,
oh, I sent it to her, but it was hard.
This is your Social Security. I'm tired of the responsibility. Go, take it. Go live your life.
Yeah.
Too funny. But I am emotional. I am. But there's just this side of me. And when my mom died, we were cleaning out her closet. And she had all the keepsakes. And she had keepsakes for me, my sister, my brother, my other sister, Tony. We all had a package.
That's beautiful. That just shows so much love. That was like her message from the other side to let you know that she just really loved you if anybody ever doubted it. You know, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, let's say hi to everyone. I'm so sorry. Hi, Demetra. Hi, Incognito. Can you see the feed? Hi, Miriam. Can you see the feed, Charm?
Yeah, I can see it.
Hi, Jenny G. Hi, Teresa 50B. Teresa, you turned 50? You look good if that's what you're implying. Hi, Sherry Love. Hi, 1D. Hi, Dolce Vita. Hi, Colton. Hi, Noel. Hi, Food Creation. Hi, Mrs. Kimberlite. Okay, so Dolce Vita says, that's wonderful, Charm. It's something we were talking about, but I did highlight it at the time. This is all of you regarding all of that you do, your professions. We were talking at the time, but I did highlight it when she said it.
Thank you, Dolce Vita.
Wow. Oh, maybe that's something that we were talking. Women are very powerful, beautiful people. Thank you, Food. And Sylvester.
Hey, Sylvester.
So everyone, I put in the feed Charm's website. Let me take a look at it because I know you have since updated it.
Ooh, Tracy, you just outdid yourself tonight, girl.
It was effortless.
Yes, you did.
It was effortless. You know, it's something that I just love to do. I love to care for people.
Tracy helped judge up my photo because she is like the genius extraordinaire of photo editing. Because
on iPhone.
I'm gonna say universe. Okay, we're taking it to the universe. Because Tracy, on my 40 seconds, I'm 48, and when I turned 47, I was like, oh God, I'm 47. Oh, I started freaking out, and I said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm finna go into 47 like a diva. So I did a dance video, and you know, I got really cute, and I posted this picture of me dressed in this white dress where I went out on my birthday. And Tracy, I didn't even ask her. She took this photo and she did. I don't know what I think Tracy put some magic or something on it. Because baby, that photo, yeah, see, she did something. Because that photo was like boom, pow, pow. So now I have it as my profile picture, and people they go ooh and ah over that photo. And so I used it. I said, you know what? I'm gonna use that photo on the site. And Tracy zhuzhed it up tonight. So she got me all the way together, child. I feel
because she at first she not on purpose, but she was like fighting me. Oh, I see it. Oh, that's nice.
Girl, you got me looking like I'm coming from the spiritual realm. And what I like about it,
yes,
7 is my number. Nice. 7 beams, because I counted the beams. Those are 7. And it's like when I get my medium messages, it's like the spirit is coming down and arriving to me. And that's what that picture does. Like it's showing the light, the spiritual light is coming from the other realm and it's coming down for me. So you got it, like you got the symbolism going, Tracy. I love it. Thank you.
Well, she sent me a couple of pictures, and I know you were talking to me, and I was so annoyed. I was doing your pictures, and I'm like, oh my God, just let me do it. And I was just ignoring you. No, what about this one? What about this picture? I was like, oh my God, just let me do it. Neptune.
Let the master work. Let the master do her work.
So this is your website. Oh, I posted it. Come on. Where is it? Oh, I didn't post it.
You did, but it's like way up in the chat.
No, I reposted it. Oh my God.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome. Melissa knows. Melissa, you know how much I have encouraged you and all that good stuff. And I love doing that. Like, I really do. So, hold on. Oh, I didn't press the arrow button. It'll show up better now.
Okay.
So, guys, it's in the feed. This is in the feed, okay? So, in addition to that, this is the charm I've been telling you guys about that's going to do the introductory to astrology class. Now, you know, I act like I know. I really don't know. But I act like I know. And it doesn't matter. I really don't know. So, hold on, guys. I just want to post this, and then we'll start looking at your opinions about things. See image. There you go. So this is the class, everyone, that Charm is teaching, Introduction to Astrology. Tell us a little bit, Charm.
Well, as a person who's been practicing astrology for 25 years, I had to start. I started backwards. So we had to take classes in person back in the olden days, and the first class I took was planetary aspects, and that's not the first class that you should take, because if you don't know it, it's kind of difficult. But I had to start somewhere. So for you guys, I wanted to start y'all where you're supposed to start. So the first week is the eclipse, because astrology is like a code symbols. And so each planet has a different symbol. So you need to be able to know how to read those symbols when you're reading the chart. We're going to talk about the glyphs. We're going to talk about the different signs and planets, and we'll delve into that. And then the second week, we're going to talk about the houses, because the astrology is a wheel, and it's a 360-degree wheel. It's a circle, and it's divided into 12 houses, and they all have different things. They all have different meanings. So we're going to delve into the meanings of the houses, and what that represents. And then the third week, we'll get into aspects, and it'll be an introduction. It's by no means exhaustive, but it's going to give you a little bit, like I was telling you earlier, like Tracy, this eclipse is at 9 degrees Aries, and you're a Leo. That is making a trine. So we're going to talk about what a trine is, which is a angle at 60 degrees. 60 degrees triangle is a trine. And we'll talk about squares, which is 90 degrees, and that creates tension. And our opposition is 180 degrees. And when you have an opposition, it creates a polarity. So we'll talk about all that kind of stuff, so that at least you guys will be able to, by the time you finish, you'll be able to understand more about the astrological lingo. We'll take a look at whoever's in the class. We'll take a look at your charts, because it's no fun talking about this stuff and we don't get to use it to interpret people's charts. So we'll be able to use everybody's chart as an example. The classes will be live, and we'll have that on Google. I'll be able to do that on the Google Meets. I think we're going to do it that way, and we'll be able to take some time and just really delve into it and have fun, because it's really fun. And I love astrology because, for me, I love psychology, and astrology helps me understand people, without having to get to know them. Of course, you're going to get to know folks, but I can look at your chart and I can tell everything I need to know about you before I know you. And I love that. Especially with dating. I went out on a date. I was in Ireland last week.
Oh, you went out on a date in Ireland?
Yeah. I'm on Bumble, child. I went out on a date, and I love with these guys. I don't fuck with them unless I know their astrology. So I need a birth time, I need a place, and I need a date. And this guy happened to know all. He even knew his birth time. I pulled the phone out. I'm looking at his chart. I'm like, oh, okay, you're good in bed. Okay, you're vengeful. Okay, wait a minute, you like this and this and that. And I just broke him down, and we were just sitting at the bar, and I just, told him all about himself, and he was just like, oh my God. And I love it because to me, astrology, you do have to be intuitive, but really when you're looking at a chart, it's pure data. And the data, when you look at the data, no matter who is interpreting it, it's always gonna have the same meaning. And then you can put your put your funk on it. But it's always fun. Yeah.
So how do people reach you for the class?
For the class, you can text me at 404-832-5179 to set, to do the payments for the class and just to get registered. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about this, and it's going to be really fun. And yeah, we're going to have a good time.
Well, Risa says she loves astrology. So come join us, Risa. I'll be there as a student. I am not assisting in this class. I do not know astrology that way. So come one, come all. Why is there a private chat? Oh, no private chat, Chom.
Oh, that was from earlier. That's before we got started.
Oh, you were trying to tell me you were here. Got you.
Yeah.
Astrology is amazing. If you haven't done it, go learn it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're astrology certified. Look at you, sweetie.
All right, hello, Ms. Risa.
Go, girl. Go, girl.
You know what, though? It's never too late to invest in yourself.
Yes.
Just go for it.
Yes. I would tell everyone that spirituality is increasing. Don't be left behind.
True.
Learn something. You all ain't got to be a psychic. You all don't have to know candle magic. But there's so much out there. There's meditation. There's Reiki. Like, learn something and elevate, because only the spiritual will survive. Sylvester, that's a t-shirt. Only the spiritual will survive.
There you go. You're dropping some gems.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I actually mean that, though, right? I'm not sure if religion, with its structure and order, I believe it has to get dismantled. And so I'm not talking against God, nor am I talking against Jesus, but Jesus was a psychic.
Of course, he was
the healer. Jesus was a prophet. Y'all pigeonholed him into a corner. He wants to bust out of that shit too.
And we're in Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto has been in Capricorn, and Pluto is the power planet. It's a planet of transformation, but it's a power planet. And Capricorn is the tradition. It is the traditional structure. It is the, what we have built, the old guard. And so now we have, we're starting to dissolve those old foundations. Like, for instance, banking. Now we have crypto. Like that's totally different than a traditional banking structure. That is a perfect
right.
Of Pluto coming out of Capricorn and going into Aquarius, where things are innovative. Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus, and it's all about innovation. And Aquarius is also about the group collective, and it's about higher spirituality. So now we're really getting into this Aquarian thing, and it's going to dissolve a lot of structures right now. We're seeing that happen right now worldwide.
Yes. And so only the spirit, I'm not kidding when I say it, only the spiritual will survive. So I want y'all to figure that out. Like, run to spirituality. It's going to make a big difference in how you organize, how you raise your children, like how you deal with each other.
Right. And you know what, too? It speaks volumes.
Yes.
You realize.
And it's so freeing. Like, it's so nice to be spiritual. Like, I feel so relaxed. Melissa, when did you know that you had a gift?
Okay. I think for me, it's like when I started taking your class, that's when I.
What?
So I never, I never knew.
Melissa, you're too gifted. I can't even imagine that you didn't know.
I did not know. But
Shot.
yeah, but I could say for in my family, like they, how can I say, you know how like as children you say stuff and your parents tell you don't say it and then it happens because they know that you're gifted,
Mm.
you know?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So it got stifled a little.
Yeah, I think you know what when you have that sometimes, you know, especially now I would say if your child has that kind of gift, don't be like, "Oh yeah, whatever." Listen when they're talking because it can be anybody that comes and visit them, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah, I learned I
That
actually
same thing happened to me, Melissa. I got
yeah,
stifled.
it's you
Oh,
know, sometimes when you're mad, it's they say like when you're 5 years old, right? 5 or 4 years old, and you start going to school and everything, you know, that whole, you know, that child's still metaphysical, right? And it's like once they start going to school and everything, everything's just getting the doors start closing because they can't get back to what they used to
right,
have, right?
right.
Because
Yeah,
they're more open than when they start to go to school and it's a whole new different thing. Like you can't believe in this, you can't believe in that.
They start
You know?
suppressing you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it suppress all of that until you actually uh, invest in yourself and try to learn something in the metaphysical world. Then you'll realize, you know, uh, what your gifts are.
right.
Yeah, but the little kids, they all know that stuff. They're like little. They probably still know heaven until they're like 5 years old. You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they go to school.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you know about your gift, Charm?
So here's the thing, like I told you guys earlier that with the mediumship, and I would just kind of, tense up because I didn't want to feel people's stuff. But I always been confident in me having dreams about things. So in my family, I found out that we are from Ghana, and I do believe we are related to the same tribe as Harriet Tubman because she was known to be from this tribe in Ghana that they were known as really big dreamers. They have dreams about things and they happen. So if I was ever doubtful about my psychic ability, before, if I had a dream about something and it happened in a dream, I unequivocally knew it was true. And so when I was 15 years old, um, my great grandmother, she raised, she lived next door to us and she helped raise us, me and my sister. My mother was a single mother and our fathers were absent. And I didn't know that my grandmother was a hoodoo practitioner. She hid it. I didn't figure it out until I
Right,
started practicing hoodoo. And
right,
so, my grandmother was so gifted that she brought somebody back from the dead. So she brought somebody back from the dead. And then my mother, she saved my mother's feet from third-degree burns because this was in the 50s. So we didn't know any of this stuff, but she kept me under her. And she basically just kind of spiritually protected me. We were extremely close. I really consider her to be my mother, and she was my best friend. And so when
yeah.
she was dying, she was 101. She had all of her
Oh,
faculties. But the doctor says she's in so much pain that we're going to give her morphine and then she's going to start to go in and out. And so she started going in and out and she had the hospital bed. And I remember that summer was just very traumatic for me, but then it was also an awakening. And I remember she took my hand and her hand was so cold. And I kind of pulled my hand back and I always felt guilty about that as a kid. But she looked at me and she said, "You're going to be a doctor so you can tell me what's wrong with me." And that was her last words that she told me. I had no desire to be a doctor at 15. So she saw
right.
that I was going to be a doctor.
Oh, she saw it. Yeah.
When I was asleep, when she was dying, I was asleep. And I remember I was dreaming and I was talking to the angels and I was begging them not to take her. I said, "Please don't take her." And they told me, "We have to take her." And when they told me that we have to take her, I knew she had died. And then literally the phone rang and that was them telling us that she had died. So that was my first experience as a medium
At
because
15.
at 15, because I was so close to my grandmother that I knew the moment that she died and I was in a completely different house. And
Yeah.
then my mother had a lot of mental emotional issues. and she had lost her job, and she just had a lot of mental health issues. And we ended up living in a house with no lights for two or 3 months. And then we ended up going in a homeless shelter. And it was very traumatic because my mother was always, you know, she wasn't on welfare or public assistance. She'd always worked. And so it was a big transition for us. And I remember we went into the homeless shelter, and I do not remember this. My mother told me that I woke up out of a dream, and I told her, we're going to live here for 13 months. And that's exactly how long we lived in the shelter. I do not remember telling her that. So my awakening was my grandmother transitioning, and it triggered my awakening.
Ooh, interesting.
Wow.
Well, I discovered mine. I was either 8 or 9, and I was playing in my kitchen, and my dad had a habit of reading the newspaper and eating his breakfast. There's this thing called running numbers, which is now lottery, but Black folks ran numbers. And it was a money-making business. And then they took it over, right? So my dad said to me, and they, well, maybe we were past that, because maybe we were past, actually, I can't remember, because they used to post it in the papers. And so my dad said to me, give me a number. And boom, 888. And he looked at me and he goes, those are the dumbest numbers I've ever heard. And I said, okay. And I went back to playing. What the fuck I care? The next day, we're in the same position. I'm in the kitchen playing. He's eating breakfast. He's got the newspaper open, and he begins to choke. And he said, oh my God. Tracy gave me the numbers and I didn't play it.
How much was it?
Girl, I didn't care.
Oh my God, that is so freaking cool.
I did not care. It was almost like I tried to tell you, right? Because I was
a little kid over, like you're like you was talking nonsense.
I'm like, you asked a question, I gave it to you. You didn't believe me, and I'm glad you choked. And I was 8. I was a kid. I didn't understand the gift, but I'm going to tell you something. Since that day, my dad always trusted my opinion.
It had to happen for him to respect you, to respect your opinion. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And as an adult, if there was something to go down, he was like, we got to talk. Okay, what do you want to know?
Damn, Tracy, I need to rub you before I go in the casino and hit the slot machines. You know, I need to rub you.
When I first learned tarot, I was an adult. I had already had my child. And, you know, back in the day, you do weird shit. And I was working as a ticket counter for Continental.
I worked for Continental, too. I'm the ticket counter.
What did you do there?
I did everything. I started out in reservations on the phones, and then I used to work 5:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. because I was going to college. And then I was cracking up, and I was like, no, I need part-time. They said the only way you can get part-time is you got to go to the airport. So I transferred to the airport. So I did ticket counter, then I did lost baggage, and then I did gates. And because I speak Spanish, I did international departures in Houston. So I ended up at the gates, and it was fun. I loved it.
Oh my God, that is so funny. But what was I going to say?
Oh, about your dad, and you were talking about your dad, and you were you were a ticket counter agent.
You say something about the numbers.
Oh, the numbers. We're talking about the lottery.
But how did I get to working for Continental?
You just said you remember you were working at Continental at the ticket counter.
I was working at Continental at the ticket. Oh God. It'll come back to me.
It's something to do with money.
And my dad has something to do with Continental, my dad, but I'm totally lost now. Like that scream really took my brain. And but I was talking about my gift. Oh, it's just escaping me. All right, fuck it. It has something to do with my dad and working at Continental.
It's gonna come to you. Tracy, were we working at the same time?
Well, as you were talking, I was wondering that I worked in Newark and then Chicago.
But I mean, were we there the same years? I was there 98 to 2001.
Oh, wait. So I graduated in 80. No, 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 no. I was continental. I had my child already. So my child was born in 88. So I think I was there probably in 93.
Okay, so you worked there 93.
88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. I was probably there in 95 because I think my son was 6 or 7.
Okay. Okay.
And then I was in Continental first, then I transferred to Chicago, and then as a Continental agent, and then I transferred over to United, and I brought myself back to New Jersey through United.
Okay.
So we weren't there at the same time, huh?
But we were working for the airlines in the 90s. We got some, we got, and then Melissa, the 22 hours, the 222.
No, there's a lot going on tonight. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I love the numbers though.
Me
Especially like if it's my favorite number. So like if I see 9/11, that's one of my favorite numbers on the clock. I always get that all the time.
Wow.
And I get 7/11 all the time.
Oh, I used to get 7-Eleven so much, and I thought it meant food because of the store.
Yeah.
Beyonce song.
But in New York, there was something called 1010 Wins. News is coming.
I get that number too.
Me too.
And I used to always listen to that in the morning. Too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when I moved away from the New York area and 1010 would come like on a digital clock, I would be like, news is coming. And I'd be like, let it be good news. All right. So One Deep said, Stewart Airlines. Isn't that a private airline? I was hired, but I got scared. I was 20 years old, laugh out loud, in the 90s. Isn't that one of the private airlines? I think I actually knew someone. I think Stewart is still a airline.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. So
Oh, Noel. Oh, okay. Thank you, Noel. Okay. I'm like, why is this escaping me? Noel got it. I had my child and I was working for Continental Airlines. That's when we screamed. And in Newark, we always got backed up in Newark because of Chicago weather. And so everything was backed up. The front was just a mess. For some reason, there was a guy there. And I was like, here's my number if you don't get on. There was no cell phones back in the day at the time. I don't think I had a cell phone. He gets home. He calls me. And he says, thank you. But I was actually one of the last ones to get on. And he's like, but I'll come out. And so he came out. He stayed in my house. My son went to go be with his dad. But my dad lived with me. And so he came to stay. And he researched the area. And he said, we have to go to Red Bank tomorrow. And I went to Red Bank and there was a tarot store there. And we went in, and the minute I walked into the tarot store, I knew I was home.
Wow.
This was my world. I never wanted anything else for the rest of my life but to be a part of a mystical tarot. So the guy that I invited, I fucking never saw him again. Well, actually, we went to the movies and he brought 1 franc and 1 soda. So that was the real reason I never saw him again.
He ain't buy you nothing at the movie, Tracy. And he stayed at your house? Oh, he ain't got no manners. That's ill mannered.
I think he was broke. I think he was broke, but then don't make the visit, you stupid bitch. And then we were riding, because this was Jersey. We were riding and riding in the car. And then he saw cabbage in the field. And he goes, oh my God, I could just live here and eat forever. And I'm like, it's private property.
Oh,
Like, what do you? He was a bum. He was just a bum. Yeah. But I've always forgiven him. That bum introduced me to tarot.
What was his sign? Do you remember?
A fucking asshole. Yes, I do remember.
I just wonder if he were a water sign, because those are the most spiritual signs.
No. Well, he introduced me. So we also had a blackout, right? Which I've never experienced, like all the lights going out all over. And my dad was home, so I wasn't afraid. And he comes running downstairs and he goes, I caused that. I caused the. And my dad and I was like, oh God, this is a live one.
I mean, did he have that? You know, there's people that are like that though. Was he really?
What, could he turn the lights out the way he said he did?
There's some people that's like that. I believe in that.
Well, because I was not experiencing this, this was my first experience through him. I didn't doubt him. But what I can tell you, Charm, is that when my son and I are together and we are traveling on a highway and it's late at night, literally the lights would go as we're going through, off, come back on when we get through, off, come back on. Wow. So I believed him. In the moment, my dad and I were like, we're gonna die. He's just
Ted Bundy, the psycho.
I was like, I'm sorry, Dad. Like, I just brought a random stranger bum home. I'm so sorry.
Your daddy,
and he's like, my dad was like, it's okay. We're just gonna die. And I was like, yeah, we are. Like, we were so cool with dying.
You bringing these strays home from the airport. You don't be picking up strays from the airport, girl.
But he introduced me to my world, and I'm not sure if I would have gotten there because I came from an era of structure and religion and order, and I dove into that. I was going to become a nun.
Oh my God!
No, please, no.
This was before Whoopi Goldberg. I was going to become a nun.
They're not nice.
They're not nice. And they probably would have locked me up in some goddamn dungeon.
In a cloister. I played a nun. I actually played Whoopi Goldberg's role in Chicago. I had the that was my first play I did, and I had to do the whole
6 degrees of separation. That is hilarious.
Melissa, do you have a Catholic connection, or did you play a nun in some form?
Actually, I did know someone that worked for Catholic people, and they were not.
Tracy, I'm gonna send you a picture of me in costume as a nun. I was Dolores Van Cartier. I had to learn 9 choreographed, and that was in 2017. And I had to learn 9 numbers and 9 songs, and it was fun.
I believe you. I believe you. I played Fiddler on the Roof. I went to listen, I was a weird, by the way, when you guys were talking about like your childhood, I was the weird one. I was the quiet one. I was the one that disappeared in the room.
What?
I was the one that sat underneath the table and stayed quiet playing with my doll because the best gossip was at the table.
You were always into the psychic gossip, Tracy.
Always. Always. And you don't move and you don't breathe. And you'll be like, and then he fucked her last night. And you'll be like,
what does that mean? I don't know what that means. What's that?
Very. I'm like 8, and I'm like, very.
I was always you know, I was always a happy child. My mother said I was a very happy baby. She said I was I would sound like I was speaking French. My aunt said I could talk at less than a year old, and I could remember people's names and stuff. So I was always like super happy. I was always the overachiever, the person that makes straight A's, and you know, teacher was coming, you're a superstar. That's the superstar. So I was always like that. But
right.
But I wasn't pretty. Like I had a big old gap tooth and I had these Coke bottle glasses. So I didn't realize that I was pretty until I was about 19 years old when I went to college and I was able to pay for braces and pay for contact lenses. I was such a nerd that when I would pull my glasses off, people wouldn't know who I was in high school. They're like, who are you? It's like, but I can't see without my glasses. But yeah, I was the ugly thing. Yeah.
Wait, I could do one better. I didn't know I was pretty until I was maybe in my mid-30s.
Oh my gosh.
I was working for Continental Airlines, and I love makeup. I love makeup from a teenager. So plowed makeup on always. I did not care. I love makeup. But a mature white woman said to me, "You are so pretty." And I looked at her and she goes, "Wait, you don't know it?" And I said, and from that point on, I made an effort to look at myself as pretty.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
A lot of people in our lives will help like awaken us. Sometimes we can't see it because we're so busy. Maybe it's not wanting to see it, but the misery takes over and impacts us more.
Well, but especially as Black women.
Yeah, but if you really look how much God sends people to us to shake us and snap us up out of it, like it'll make sense. Like so many people have come into my life to like wake me up.
Yeah, I used to be so ashamed of my feet because that was when Boomerang. Y'all remember Eddie Murphy Boomerang when he pulled he had sex with some girl and he pulled the blanket back and she had them ugly toes and they talking about the hammer time and I had hammer toes and I remember I used to be so ashamed of my feet. And when I was in medical school, I had a friend. He was a friend, kind of like a friend, and we kind of liked each other, but I don't know. But we spent a lot of time together. And I remember once, and he was Haitian. He was Haitian American. And I remember he was at my house and we were studying. And then he looked at my feet. He said, "You got really pretty feet." And that was like me. I always just be so self-conscious about my feet. And so when he said, it was just that one guy told me, "You got really pretty feet." And after that, I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing research on no hammer toe operation. Honey, I'm about to put these feet out loud and proud, honey. I'd be at the workshop, child, just getting my feet and toes and stuff.
Wait, let me see your feet. Wait, do it again.
That was for the money. They're a little ashy right now, but I got
sparkles. I like the sparkle. That's pretty. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, nobody has worse feet than I do. These are the ugliest feet in America.
I'm like my doctor hat is coming on now. That is
complete silence. This is the genetic defect.
Okay, because I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Wow.
You know, you come from my family if you have a foot genetic defect.
Wow, I've never seen that before.
Now the good part is, whenever I wear my sandals, the last two toes don't show.
So you don't have the second bone. You're missing a bone, right? Or is it that it's very short?
My son was born with 11 fingers.
Okay, because it looks like the bone is like shorter on that fourth toe.
I don't know if a bone is missing or not. I have no clue.
That is so interesting. You know, y'all know I'm a doctor, so the doctor starts just, it switches, like it flips, and I'm like, oh, okay, I want to look this up.
We have something in our, like, my son has my dad had 12 fingers. And my son wound up with 11. And my grandma and I have these toes.
Wow. So did y'all cut like, was it like attached where you could cut it down or what?
Yeah, he still carries a little lump here. And my dad carries 2 lumps.
Well, that's probably just like your mark as a family, because obviously people who are spiritual, it runs in their family, so they have marks and things.
Oh, very true. Okay, one last question. What does your birthmark look like, if any?
I don't have any birthmarks. I was always jealous because my sister had birthmarks and moles and all that. I don't have any.
No, that's so sad. I'm not trying to put you down, but
I do have my because they said people, like, I had a mentor who was a Romani, or known as Gypsy, and she said people who are psychic have some, gifted, have always have some type of a mark. So my mark is, I don't have a birthmark, but I have in medicine it's called first rib syndrome. So my rib is a little bit more pronounced here. And you can, and so it pops sometimes. You can't really see it. I have to, you can feel it, but that's my mark, is that my right rib here. I can't remember the first, second, third. Like the second or third rib is it's anterior, what we call anterior. It's a little bit more forward than the others. And so that's like my little genetic mark of me being spiritual.
Any genetic markings, Melissa?
Well, I always had moles. And
moles are a big deal in spirituality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for me, I got moles and I have freckles. But I have freckles on my, they're a little light, but you got to really look. But I have freckles on my sides.
Yeah.
My mom had freckles on her face. And so does my great cousin. He had freckles on his face too.
Yeah. When Ezra was a kid, one day his dad and I were, just comparing moles. So I have a big one right here. And I've got others, and we were just pointing out all the moles. I have one on my lip. And Brian was pointing out his moles. And Ezra said, "Where's my mole?" And my son and I panicked. We froze. We panicked.
Oh.
And so we went to check him up and down. And we had to tell him, you do not have moles. And he had a conniption fit. It was over for him. So about 6 months, a year later, I see Ezra and he goes, "Dory, look at my mold." That boy willed a mole.
Mm-hmm.
Willed it.
And
when I saw that, he was a baby. He was like 3. When I saw that, or 4, I said, "Oh, shit, he's a warlock."
Mm-hmm.
Willed a mole. And now that he's 11, he's like, "Dory, look, boom, boom, boom."
Yeah, I
have moles.
I have moles, but I never had a birthmark, and I was so jealous of myself. I have a Leo sister that she had a birthmark, because everybody's like, "Oh, she's a birthmark." But yeah, I definitely have moles, and then I have one here that nobody ever notices, but I have a beauty mark here, and my grandmother had one in the exact same place, and my grandmother was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, she was gorgeous. She was a beauty queen. She wore all kind of wigs and stuff. My mother's mother. Vivian. That's like even a Hollywood glamour name. Her name was Vivian.
That's a glamour name. All right. What were you going to say, Melissa?
No, I never had no birthmark.
You didn't have a birthmark either?
Mm-hmm. No birthmark. I'm like, but just the moles, the freckles, and I always loved when people had the mold on their face. Mm-hmm. I didn't get it on my face. But yeah, the body, yes. My arms and especially on my toe. I have a really big one.
On your toes?
Yeah.
Well, moles or birthmarks are all part of the spiritual world. And I do have a birthmark. And again, you don't know your spiritual. You don't know the mark of the beast. But mine is in the shape of a moon.
Wow.
That's cool.
That is, but who knew? Right? You got this birthmark and you're like, and my mom would notice things like that. She was very, very gifted. And she'd be like, "Oh, Tracy's crescent moon," and not realizing that I'm a psychic. Like, you just don't know these things. And anywho, okay, Tracy's moles come on your body anytime. I kept seeing moles grow on my body. Okay, now, infinite. My God, woman.
How do you get down there and see that? She just got a mirror or something. Damn. Or maybe one of her paramours told her about it.
Infinite. Oh my God. No, you're right. Moles do grow anytime, but the difference is Ezra pushed his.
Like he willed himself to have
He
one.
willed himself to have a mole. He was like, "Y'all are not leaving me out of this." And then when he went to tell us, it was matter of fact. He was like, "Look."
Like bloop.
And we were like, "Oh shit." The minute I saw the moles, I was like, "This little nigga, he is a warlock."
Okay, well, while we're on the subject of moles, I have to give the public service announcement as the resident doctor on the panel. If you have a mole and it changes in color, shape, or size, you need to go be evaluated by a physician because that is an early sign of skin cancer. So why? And I was on a plane one time. I get embarrassed when I have to give people messages and stuff like in public because it's like, oh, how are they going to receive it? But this man standing in front of me and I'm standing behind him. We're getting ready to deplane and I'm looking at the back of his neck and I'm like, that mole don't look right. Oh, should I say something?
Oh no,
that mole don't look right. So finally, I was like, if I don't say nothing, I'm gonna be all fucked up. So I was like, look, sir, I'm sorry, I'm a doctor. You need to get that mole checked out. And then it happened to be another doctor sitting in the other seat. I said, because it's asymmetrical. It doesn't look wet. It looks abnormal. And then he started kind of yelling at his wife. Why didn't you tell me, that I had this, that my mole, she's the one that takes care of that. And then the other doctor, he said, what's your specialty? You noticed that ABCD, because we call it asymmetry, borders and all this. And I said, oh, I'm family medicine. But it was just, it was actually spirit's way of affirming that, hey, I did the right thing by saying something to him because you don't know how you're going to be received when you start telling people stuff.
Yes.
It was underneath his skin.
What you say, Melissa?
Was it underneath his mole, like the lump you've seen?
No, I mean, it was visible, but it was because he was in front of me and it was like on his back of his neck. And, you can see because his collar was exposed and it just looked fucked up. And I was like, I gotta say something. So
it was possibly cancer?
Possibly, but I don't know. I'm not his doctor, but I felt a duty to tell him to go to his own doctor and get it checked out.
I love that. But I once saw a documentary where somebody had a goiter on the back of their neck and they had it removed and it was his twin brother.
Oh, yeah, a parasitic twin. Mm-hmm,
no.
Twin.
Yes, he was carrying his twin brother.
No,
that's
it was skeleton and everything.
What?
Yeah, it's called a
parasitic. It had bone. Yes.
So they start out as it was twins, and at some point one of the babies died, and the surviving baby absorbed the other baby. But because it didn't completely absorb, he still had the skeleton, and it didn't get absorbed at that point, and that's what he had remaining. Yep.
Wow, I learned something tonight.
Okay. Oh, wait a second. Hold on, guys. Hold on.
Talking about moles and parasitic twins and.
Well, you know what?
That's so interesting.
Ribs.
I'm kind of thinking, although, this is maybe like a little version of book club on Fridays. Like it's like talk about anything and have fun while you do it. Miss Kimberly says her freckles / moles are forming like a mask, like one of these masks. That's interesting. That's very interesting, Miss Kimberly.
Oh, Miss Kimberly, you got a pretty profile picture. I like it.
Yeah. And she uses my
Rosemary oil so pure. Tracy Brown. I told Tracy that theme song is only that part. It's stuck in my head. Tracy Brown, Rosemary oil so pure. I be dancing to that. I be getting the jig.
Thank you. Okay, I got some video for you guys, so listen up because some strange things are about to happen. I don't know what color wolves are, so a black wolf is surprising y'all.
Well,
I mean, it's nature. It's Mother Nature. You don't know what you're gonna see.
This
right.
was in Yellowstone Park, so
Are
Let
those
me-
caribou? What are those animals?
this is Yellowstone National Park.
And you can walk around Yellowstone too.
Yes, so I've
I
got
like
something
walking
else.
around there.
I've got something else to show you guys. Look at this one.
Y'all not finna have me in the middle of call a little while getting ate up. Wow. What are those bears?
What's happening, guys?
Child.
I'll play it again. This was 3 days ago.
Grizzlies.
It's giving me chills.
Wow.
They're like at attention. They're all facing the same way. I don't know if it's east, west, or north, but this is something that's incredible. Look how they're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something's coming because you know they leave when the animals start to leave where they're at.
Yes,
Because
they
of
also
nature.
block the road. So
And then we've got all
Right.
these plants and water because one of the things with all this being in water, you got to watch out for natural disasters. The eclipses will trigger natural disasters depending on what angles and things that they're forming. So that's one thing you always have to look out for.
do you think that's why we had a 7.7 earthquake in Malamar?
Not sure because I haven't had a chance to look at the astrology on that. But with all this stuff being in Pisces, we have to watch out for water events because we got like 5 signs. Pisces is a water sign, and you got all this stuff in Pisces. So that is just kind of my thing right now.
Okay. I agree, Dolce Vita. I never heard of a black wolf in Yellowstone Park. Now we got the bears that's acting a fool. And it reminds me of that movie. Did y'all see that movie?
But
Send me some updated pics, please, Miss Kimberly.
you might leave the world behind with the one
Leave
that
the world behind. Remember, the animals were doing some weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got another video for you guys. Oh, this isn't a good one. I meant to find a better one.
I bet them doors of the church gonna stay open then. Now he know he was wrong. Marvin know he was wrong.
I actually wanted to show you where the pastor, I don't have it here, so I'm not going to look for it, where the pastor was like, close them doors.
that
Close
was
them
Marvin
doors.
Sapp.
I need some $20,000 and we're going to close these doors. It was so
He said he
funny.
needed 40. Like, who got
He
$40,000?
really needed 40, right?
Oh my God. Now
Who's
there's that.
asking for that? Who's he asking for that kind of money?
His congregation.
Well, I guess they better.
I'd be like, I was kidnapped. He kidnapped me.
Well,
I'm pressing charges.
That's why he got charged. He did get charged because it actually was considered.
Oh, he got charged?
Yeah, that's what this video is saying, that he got charged.
Lord, don't Marvin Sapp is a world-renowned guy.
I bet them doors of the church gonna stay open then. Now he know he was wrong. Marvin know he was wrong.
Lord, y'all, we got an illness which goes on in these church houses with this chicanery. And I remember Teslin Figueroa, I follow her. She's a kind of a political commentator, and she's real grassroots Black American. She's been on the Breakfast Club several times, and she said there is a common thread between the pimps and the preachers and the politicians. They all have a common thread, and you can't tell me, like, I mean, that's pimping. You ain't leaving here till we get $40,000.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, this is unfortunately these type of pastors, thanks to social media, are being exposed.
Thank
These
God.
these mega churches, these people. First of all, I don't know about you, but I can't be in a mega church. I'm overwhelmed. Anybody else feels that way? If I go in a mega church, I'm thinking calamity is going to happen. So I usually have to leave because I start having all these visions of the church falling apart. Anybody else? They feel real to me. So I feel like, oh, the church is going to, but I think what I'm getting is the calamity of the organization of the church.
Well, it's a business. And so, I've gone to mega churches before, but now the church I attend a spiritualist church, and that's where I got my training as a medium. Because
Right.
because the spiritualist tradition, we don't discount the passing over of folks. We still we believe in the connection between life and death. And so that is where a lot of mediumship is cultivated. James Von Prague, the medium, that he had TV shows and all that, he sat in the spiritualist church and trained. But I love my little church because it's one of these old timey churches that's been there. Oh my God, I think the church has probably been there since the 60s or 70s or something like that. And when I was in my 20s, I wouldn't be caught dead in a little old church like that. But now it just feels so I just feel so comforted because it just reminds me of nostalgia of just, old Black church. So I wouldn't be comfortable in those mega churches.
Yeah, the mega churches, I can only tell you what I feel every time I enter a mega church. And I always see, hell and damnation, like the walls are falling apart, more like it's going to be an earthquake, and yet nothing happens. So then I have to reinterpret what I was seeing. And then I realized I was looking at their organization that was falling apart.
What about you, Melissa?
Well, I'm not really a church person, but I grew up going just for, like I have some family members that's Jehovah's Witness. So I used to go like to the Kingdom Hall and stuff that they call. And it's just strict. It's a very strict religion, super strict.
No birthdays, no holidays.
And
they had no Christmas.
But they also will disown their own child.
Wow.
Meaning that if you want to get back in, you have to be forgiven to get back in.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I don't like that because I feel like I will never want to be disowning, to treat your child like it's their dad. They're no more to you,
There's a lot of people have been traumatized by religious experience. I mean, I definitely was traumatized by the way the hypocrisy that I perceived that was happening in Christianity when I was in a homeless shelter. It's supposed to be like this, children and family Christian shelter, and the people were extreme hypocrites. And I ended up converting to Islam maybe like 6 months to a year after we got out of the shelter. And I was Muslim for like 10 years. So now I'm a Christian again. And I'm in the Hoodoo spirituality and also in the Yoruba, the African spirituality. So I have, having been in like a lot of different spiritual paths, I have an appreciation for, having your own spiritual connection, because religion is really, anybody can take it and be a hypocrite. I saw hypocrisy in Islam. I saw it in Christianity. And so I'm just wary of a lot of stuff. But yeah, I like going to church. I do miss going to the mega church because they be having a good choir. That'd be the real good choir. That's the choir make you get up and just woo. Because those are professionals, honey. That's the professionals.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I've gone to church all my life, and I thought that church was the end all. And I realized God is not in the churches.
The church is a hospital.
It's a what?
It's a hospital. So people think you got sick people and people in different degrees of sickness and wellness and health in a hospital. So they're coming there to get care, but everybody isn't healthy in the church. That's why they're going to church.
Yeah, I always thought the church was a club, a dance club. No comment.
Well, you know what? Look at the pastor. He might as well have told everybody, give up your card keys.
Yes.
So I can get the money for whatever he needs. It's
And
just
your house keys and your mortgage. They give him your house.
basically.
If all the money that the Black community gives to the church every Sunday were invested in businesses, we would have so much more wealth. But it's, it's unfortunate because the Black church really held a critical role after slavery. I mean,
Yes.
Black
Yes.
literacy, it was against the law for us to learn how to read. And we would get in these church groups after slavery, and we increased our literacy rate. Like we increased about like 70% in a matter of within like the first 10 years after slavery. And then the Black church was critical in the civil rights movement. So I always say I will never leave the Black church because of the history and the tradition, even though I have other spiritual paths. But I appreciate, especially being in hoodoo, because in hoodoo, that came out of the Black church. As far as hoodoo is an African-American tradition, traditional religion. When we came from Africa, our African religions were suppressed, so we had to hide it. And the way we hid it is that, they hit us with the Bible. So we would utilize the Christianity, but we were doing African traditions under it. And so as an initiate in hoodoo, I have appreciation for the church because the Bible ain't nothing but a big old spell book. The Bible got the best spells in it.
Yes, it does. There's, that's twofold what you're talking about. That's historical. And that story needs to be told so that the church can reorganize themselves because they forgot that.
The founder of the Church of God in Christ was a big time hoodoo practitioner. But there's a school of people who, they took a lot of the hoodoo tradition out of the church and they left some of the other stuff, all the theatrics. But you go to for the people, like when I was really trying to learn hoodoo, you got to go to those old Black people in the church, and they didn't call it hoodoo. They just called it the Lord's work. But like my grandmother was an old Black person in the church. I never knew she was a hoodoo practitioner until I started getting into the tradition and learning stuff. And we were talking about how turpentine is turpentine that comes from pine trees. It's a protection. And when I smelled it, I said, oh my God, my grandmother used to keep this in the house. She kept it hidden in a drawer. And that's when I realized that they had to hide it. It was, and that's why it's such an important tradition in the Black community that a lot of us are reclaiming it. And it is a closed practice. There are people who are Caucasian who are trying to learn it, but it's a closed practice because it was a resistance for us. They took our religion away from us, and we had to create hoodoo in order to maintain our traditions. And so it's a big movement now, and it's been very healing for me.
Yes, and telling that story is very important because it was forgotten. And so when you go to church and you're a spiritual person, if you announce it, you are ostracized. You are weird. You are not taken care of. In any denomination, Lutheran, Catherine, Baptist, and part of the reason is because the conformity that was required based upon the bigger organizations. Like I belong to a Baptist church, but they had a huge organization that they had to follow the rules from. And so there was no way that they could include spiritual practices. They were mandated to forget and not include, like having an Orisha behind a Saint Bernadette statue. So a lot of things have been forgotten. And then in your families, when you do let the spirituality out by your innocence, they will tell you, hush, girl, hush.
Oh, my family members call me. Some of my family say, "Oh, Charmonique is a witch," because my name is Charmonique, but only my family calls me that, or people I went to high school with. But my cousin, and the irony of it is, I gave a very special message to my cousin from our aunt, our great aunt who passed away, because my great aunt was an Aries, and her birthday is April 17th. Rest in peace, and Katie. And she didn't take no shit. So whenever I'm going through something in life where I need that, like, I need to be really assertive, she'll show up. And so she showed up. Her personality is the same as it was now. It's the same on the other side. And she was like, you better give Tiffany a message. And she was like, you better give her the message. And she, like, because sometimes that was early in my mediumship. And I just was kind of on the fence as to what I was receiving. And so I just wrote everything down. And then I told my cousin, it took me about a week to tell her. And I told her everything that my aunt had told her. And what happened was, she said, her children had got adopted out. And the woman who had adopted the kids was like, had a very contentious relationship with her because she got her kids back in spirit. Like they were older, but she built a relationship with them.
Right.
They had gotten taken away from her. And the woman was turning the grandkids against her. And this was jealous because they had reconnected with their birth mother. And my aunt sent a message saying, you need to forgive her. You need to thank that lady for taking care of your children and just make peace with her. And I told her that. And do you know, I told her that April 2023, around March, April, that woman died in a car crash in January.
The adopted mom?
Adopted mom. But my cousin, when I called my cousin, it was a week later, and I told her everything that my aunt had said. Right. Oh my God, we just had that conversation a week ago. So when my aunt was telling me, was around the time they had the conversation. So it was confirmation for her that you needed to have this conversation, because the lady ended up dying, and it was in a fiery car crash. And I didn't find that out because nobody called. When you're a psychic medium, people don't always call you and tell you were right. So when I get little crumbs and say, oh, you were right about that, I appreciate it. And she said that, I was, glad that I had that conversation with her. But this is the same cousin went and told my uncle, Sharmonika is a witch. I said, bro, come on now.
Yeah. My mom, when she was a kid, and I don't know if she was 13, 14, 15, who knows. And she's like you, she and Melissa, she gets spirits coming through. But she also got what she considered bad spirits that would come through and scare the shit out of her. Mm-hmm. And she would say out loud, there's a witch in the room and she's by the bed. And they wouldn't stop coming through because there was nobody to help train her system. And so my grandmother takes her to a doctor and they put her in an insane asylum.
Oh my God. Mm.
And the only way she got out is if she admitted
that it was wrong,
that she didn't see them.
Wow.
Like that's what she had to figure out. However, growing up, all I did was watch my mother talk to these spirits. She'd be doing the dishes and she'd be like, yeah, I know. Everybody be telling me da 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 da. That was normal in my household. Well, I don't know if she's crazy, but the point of she was still seeing spirits. She was batshit crazy, but
we always had dreams. And the one thing, my mother, she has a religious addiction and she deals with, mental illness. And it's something I just had to come to a conclusion that she's never going to get help. But but I love my mother. And the one thing we can do is that she's always been supportive of me being spiritual, because we can talk about, what did you have a dream about? I had a dream about this. Well, I had a dream about that. Now she doesn't like me being a medium because she's like, you're not supposed to talk to the dead. I'm like, well, if they talk in the Bible talks about, there's several passages in the Bible about how did Jesus raise Lazarus if he wasn't talking to him, but they try to shame you with whatever religious sect is happen to be popular these days, when our loved ones are trying to get messages to us. And it is such a healing thing to be able to give somebody closure like that. I had a person tell me, I had a therapist tell me she had 30 years of therapy, and one session with me was worth 30 years of therapy that she couldn't get in therapy.
Wow.
A mediumship session with, connecting with her grandfather.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, when I finally started candle magic and tarot class, my mom begged me. She was like, Tracy, please don't. And I said, Mom, I am fine. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew she was not allowed to stop me. I'm fine. And she just threw her hands up in the air and kind of like gave up. But the bottom line is, I truly was fine. I did what I wanted to do. Sylvester says, this is so fascinating. I remember my mom had a spell book hidden in one of her dresser drawers. It was a green love spell book, I believe. Also, my mother had strong intuition. She just knew things. Yes.
Wow.
And Dolce Vita agrees with you, Charm. She says, I respect our historical Black church roots. I grew up in a Baptist church with choir, people catching the Holy Spirit, speaking tongue, organic impetus to my spiritual awakening. Yeah, I love that you all love that. I kind of have a different take on a lot of that, but I get that the old Black spiritual songs, the old Black connection of being in the Black church, the the community of church, I think is what I love.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I've seen Black churches ruin the ability for your spirituality to come through. And so, but I've seen Catholic churches do it too. And Catholic church is based upon paganism.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
took it from the witches and made them come inside instead of communing in the woods. So I don't know. I don't, historical Black churches, I'm I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence about it. I can respect it, very much so, but I have fear of the organization to not allow someone like me be a full-fledged psychic medium witch. And that scares me.
And
And
here's
that's
the thing.
fine.
Here's the thing. This one thing I want to add is that the irony of it, I am in the Ifa tradition, which is the Yoruba faith from the Yoruba people in Southwest Nigeria. And I was initiated. I had my first level of initiation. It's been like, oh God, it's been like 8 years now. And
Mhm.
those practitioners in Africa, honey, the babalawo or the shaman or the one you go to go kill the chickens and the goats and stuff, baby, the Christian preachers would be going over there to see the babalawo to get more congregants in their church. So they
Wow.
going to see the Baba, they going to see the hoodoo man.
See,
The
stuff like that upsets me though.
Mhm.
That would not impress. That does not impress me. It would upset me more because he'll come back to his congregation and preach the bullshit
Mhm. But this comes in.
Wow.
for control. For
Right.
control. Forgive me, everyone, but I feel like church is a mind fuck. I'm sorry. I get it. I love it. I love the old Negro spirituals. I love communing at church. I don't like the control, and that's
Yeah.
hands off with all of that. I
But this,
can't.
this comes from white supremacy. I mean, it really does because
I
they
know
they
it
taught
does,
us to be,
but
yeah.
do the pastors, and if you tell me that there are pastors going over in Africa, using that magic to come back to, that's bullshit.
Hmm.
I'm just saying, I love that you told me that.
Yeah, it's deep, but they just that's why I really appreciate hoodoo, and I appreciate that now there's been a resurgence of people embracing African traditional religions. I love what Beyonce has done a lot to normalize, when she put out Lemonade and she, was doing all this stuff with Oshun and everything like that, normalized it for a lot of people. And so I appreciate her as an artist for doing that. And she was basically living it, standing in her spiritual purpose, because when I went to Cuba, I was told that her and Jay-Z went to Cuba and got initiated, and that they told her, because when you get initiated or you get your reading, they tell you who is your guardian angel or Orisha, or what's called your head. And that's
Yeah.
when she found out her head was Oshun. And so I believe when she got that done, that she was told that she had to start to show Oshun. So like for us in the religion, like we appreciate that, because that's opened up for a lot of people to like explore that. Because I don't, as far as Black people getting free and getting right in the head, we're not going to get it with pure Christianity. We have to embrace the African traditional religions, because whenever you have to worship a God that doesn't look like you, that's insanity. Every culture in the world worships a God that looks like them. The Indians are worshiping a God that looks like them. The Chinese people in the Buddhist tradition and the Shinto and all this. So, we're the only ones that are worshiping a God that's white. So we had to leave that behind. So I'm glad that it's been such a burst, that it's freeing.
Oh, it is freeing. And I have to tell you, I have to give so much credit to IG and TikTok and everybody posting their version of their culture. Voila! The world is opened up for all of us, for the white witches, the Latin witches, Hispanic witches, the black, pull away from traditional churches. Like, this shit is amazing, the era that I'm living in. And I used to say to God, why am I in this era? Like, did I choose this era? Because this sucks. And now I recognize, although I have to be 62, I wish I was younger because I would just be there, like, embracing and fighting with y'all. But I think at this point, I'm a supporter.
You're a teacher, Tracy. Look at me, the stuff that you do with the angels every morning. Like, you're a teacher, so you're a role model and a leader. And the thing is that because you've experienced both, like, it's nice to see someone who's came up that's like old school in the church, but then you're embracing this new thing too. So this is all part of this whole dawn of the age of Aquarius.
Yes,
the Capricorn has dissolved these old structures, and now Aquarius, where everybody is into the new, embracing the new spirituality. And what I love is that when I got my first astrology book, Thelma Balfour, Black Sun Signs. That was the first astrology book I ever bought. I think I was like 18 or 19, so that was like 1995. We didn't have we had internet. We didn't have all this social media, and the only horoscope you see is you open up a newspaper. So me reading about a Black astrologer, and she talked about Black people. And then I got an astrology reading on the radio. I'll never forget that. I called into the radio and they had a Black astrologer on our radio station in Houston. Her name was Tano, and she would do astrology, I think, on Tuesdays. And she looked at my chart. She was like, "Girl, you like to get to the money." And I was like, "Wow, how'd she know that?" So that I started buying all kinds of astrology books and just really just started reading as much as I can. And now I remember when people would make fun of you talking about your charts. Now everybody knows their sun sign and their rising sign and their moon sign. And I'm like, this is like, it's so refreshing, because back when I started studying astrology, nobody knew any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me see if I played this one already. Oh, I did play this one. Oh, wait, did I? Oh, no, this is funny. Hold on a second. Did you see the difference? That was beautiful.
Potato salad. Who fixed the potato salad? Ain't got no raisins in it, do it.
Okay, so this is about Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is about Ralph in the Basement. Ralph has a podcast called Ralph in the Basement. You let me know if he's ignorant. But before we go there, let me just look at what everybody is saying. I am wondering, what is the deal with Sylvester? I've never heard of this. So
I have heard of it, and you got people that do black magic, and you have people that do white magic, and the stuff that goes on in some parts of the motherland. I mean, that's obviously black magic, taking albino parts of people's hair. Well, destiny swapping, all that shit. That shit is crazy. Also,
it might be murder too. So, like, what are we talking about when
it is murder.
Okay. All right, moving on. Yeah. Sylvester.
She's not allowed to be down here. So if she comes down these steps, I'm going to the courts. You know what I'm saying? Yo, putting it right in the app. Hey, Drew violated the order. Look, it's not a game out here. You know what I'm saying? It's not a game. I'm standing on business. I'm standing on business here, Let me drink to that.
Why do you sound like his nose is stuffy?
Let me see something. I think I didn't play it from the beginning.
Conversation. I sat down with her and I was like, listen, I was like, look, based on everything that's going on, I think we should go our separate ways. I think, we put there. Yo, look, if they come down, everybody got free reign. Because she's not allowed to be down here. So if she come down these steps, I'm going to the courts. You know what I'm saying? Yo, putting it right in the app. Hey, Drew violated the order. Look, it's not a game out here. You know what I'm saying? It's not a game. I'm standing on business. I'm standing on business here. You know. Let me drink to that.
Have
I
you
don't see anything we can go.
Have you ever dated someone and then what's that echo? Have you ever? You hear it too? Why is it echoing? Have you ever dated someone and then years later you go back and you're like, why did I date you? What happened? Like, did I lose my mind? Like, he looks like that type of man where you date him, you marry him, you have children with him, and then you wake up one day and you're like, wait, what? Please leave. And like, you're disgusting to me. Physically, emotionally, you're a child.
He was always doing crazy shit on that show. Just
Probably got stigmatized, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, it happens. You
When
know?
he took off and he went, didn't he go out of town for like a weekend and then tell her where he was? Like one season, like he's got some issues, and that video was nothing but ego. It was nothing but ego and pride.
Right. He was so cocky. As if it's so cool to be in the basement. Like, dude, it's not cool to be in the basement.
You're weird. That's why you're in the basement.
Exactly.
And by the way, for me personally, I would put a door up. You know, no, we would be separated by a door.
Are they divorced yet?
No.
He shouldn't even be living there. I'm sorry. He gotta go. Come on.
Bad.
Oh, I could just text. Like, really? You're corny. He's corny.
I tell you what, Drew's hair looked really pretty in that picture. My God.
Yeah, I mean, Drew's a pretty girl. You know, she does amazing things with her look. She's a pretty girl, but you know, she married a jackass and gave children to a jackass.
He had money though, right?
It's never been confirmed what that man does for a living. In all the years she's been on Real Housewives of Atlanta, she's covered for him. We don't know what this man does for a living.
So you know what? You know what that means, right? He always been a bum.
Yes.
Oh,
all right.
I was just thinking about street pharmacy, but okay, that my mind goes all kind of places.
I don't know if, well, that would be sad if Drew allowed her husband to do something like that. You know, I would hope she would think she's better than that, but who knows with him? He could have been.
It could have been one of those people that were street pharmacists and they farm a life and then they flipped it, and just went legit. So who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. I was talking to my neighbor. First of all, I'm kind of rigid. And I was talking to my neighbor, I swear to God, just now. And I was saying something about drugs in the neighborhood and how I never dated a drug dealer. Although they've tried, right? They're like, oh, what was I supposed to do? I had kids and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, I hear you. I'm okay. Like, I've never dated a drug dealer. And so I'm not going to start with you.
I'm not going to have me in the penitentiary. Ain't finna have me up in the pokey over here trading cigarettes for my virginity.
Or just being in a car, and if you're a drug dealer, you got guns, you got drugs in your car. I'm not going to jail as an accessory, or they grab everybody in a car. I'm not doing it.
Listen, well, that's why it's not worth it to be with a guy.
Well, that is why we have so many Black women that are incarcerated a huge numbers, because they get involved with these drug dealing boyfriends and get caught up as collateral damage. That's a huge growing percentage of Black women in jail because of that.
Yeah. And I just don't want that for my life. When I was younger, I dated a guy from jail, right? This is my first admission, right? And we were in Jersey and we got stopped by the cops. No, we were in Jersey and we went to a gas station. And back in the day, gas stations weren't lit up like y'all's gas stations are now. And I was driving, and when he went into the gas station, again, the psychic, but not the confident psychic. He went into the gas station, and I said, "He's robbed gas station." I knew it.
Oh my God.
I just knew it. Yeah. And he stopped at I feel like he stopped at the gas station to see if he could rob right then and there.
He was chasing out the gas station while you in the car?
It would be the getaway car. And back in the day, gas stations were dark. There were no such thing as cameras and shit like that. He gets back in the car and I don't take off. And I say to him, "What'd you go to jail for?" And he goes, "Robbing a gas station."
Oh, hell to the no. Hell no.
I was like, "So let's be clear, because I'm not moving. Did you just rob that gas station?" And he says, no, I don't want to go back to jail. I don't want to go back to jail. So we're on our way home when the cops stop us. And they're doing like this with their flashlight. And then I don't know what happened, guys. This is God. This is angels. That's why you got to trust these beings around you. The cop took my license. He comes back and he goes, "I have to go. There's an emergency." And gave me back my paperwork. I looked at that motherfucker and I was like, "We are going straight home." And I never dated him again.
Good for you.
Wow. That's a blessing in disguise, you know?
Yeah. And the other thing I then began, because I tell my dad everything. The other thing I began to realize is that when guys are from jail, they don't have resources. So drugs, they go back to it, having a gun on them. Like there's usually somebody's got a gun on them. My dad was like, "Oh my God, like you don't know what he could have had on him." And I was like, "I know, Dad, but they just told us to go straight home because there was an emergency in the area."
Well, you were protected. Yeah, I was always like a super square nerd girl. I was never attracted to thugs.
Neither was I. I was never attracted. I dated a guy from jail. I wasn't like, "Oh, let me go get, the hot guy that sells drugs." It was just a thing.
Yeah.
First of all, I'll date anybody. I really don't give two shits. Like if you like me a little bit and you want to take me to the movies, okay, let's go. I won't fuck you. So no one's nasty penis can get inside of me unless you got a clean. You got to have a clean history.
Okay, Tracy needs the lab results. The lab results, baby. No, I never was, because I grew up in a working class neighborhood. I watched, I watched it be the winos on the street, and I watched the crack come in, and the winos became crackheads, and I just was never attracted to that. I was always like, we were trying to get up out of the hood, and so after being in the homeless shelter at 15 years old until I was 17. I was the person that I studied hard, was number 10 in my class, and I got $250,000 in scholarship offers and went to college on a NASA scholarship. So I was like, I'm getting the fuck up out of here. I'm not going to be up in this shit. And my family, we had some, some criminals in the family, but we were always just like a good, solid family. If we had some criminals in the family, we shunned them like anybody else. We weren't engaged in any of that. I came from a good, solid Southern Christian family. So that just wasn't my thing. But I did, I dated a guy, I think in my 20s, that he had went to prison, but it had been 10 years since he gotten out. So, he had pretty much had rehabilitated, even though he was a hoe. But as far as it's just like the other stuff, I'm a massage therapist. So
yeah. But since then, now remember I'm 62, but since then I have learned over the years, for me, and I'm not talking about anybody that's watching the show, I'm not always confident that people from jail are emotionally healthy.
Well, a lot of them have PTSD. My daughter got me to watching that show, Love After Lockup. I fell in love.
Oh my God, I love that show.
right? But as a person with a, you know, as a naturopathic physician, and I worked in mental health for many years. I worked for a mental health hospital, and we in Chicago, and we dealt with mental health and substance abuse. And I'm just very, you know, I became very, very versed on mental illness, and it was obvious to me watching Love After Lockup, especially that first or second season. I cannot remember the name of that couple, but it was a Caucasian couple, and they knew each other before the guy went into jail. And she was pressuring him to get married. I cannot remember their names.
They all pressured.
Right. And so,
So it's a story.
but it was obvious to me that this guy was suffering from PTSD, and she was so concerned about getting married as soon as he got out of jail. She could not see the glaring signs. And I remember tweeting about it, and she actually liked my tweet. I'll never forget that, because I'm like,
overly skinny, hillbillish looking.
No, she was a heavy set, you know, maybe like a size 14-ish. And I think I think she was from Canada, but he was from America, but they were a cute little couple, and they ended up getting married. But it was, you know, it was obvious he had post-traumatic stress syndrome, and post-traumatic stress syndrome, you hear about it for people in the military, but the hallmark of it is that you have been in a situation where you think that you might die. And you had a real threat of death. And then after that, you start to have things like loss of appetite, problems sleeping, anxiety, depression, and all these symptoms. They have to persist for at least months for it to be classified as PTSD. And so a person who's been in jail, you have a real, you know, they can get shanked, they get raped. Like you know, these people coming out of prison have a form of PTSD. And what I feel that fails everybody in the mental health system, a large percentage of your mentally ill people are in jail because they didn't get mental health treatment. Then the other place coming out and not getting mental health treatment when they get out of jail because they've been traumatized by being in jail. So it's a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot. Okay, last video, guys. How long have we been on? Oh, 2 hours. Last video.
Up and we're like, you know what? I think the government needs to be smaller. Nigga, what? And then thousands of Americans are locked out of their savings accounts with over $100 million being frozen. The banks are Trust Bank, can't trust your ass. Evolve Bank, there's no evolution there. And Yoda Bank. I wouldn't even bank with somebody named Yoda. And then Wig pulled the plug on federal funding for the Colorado River. Of course he did, because that's a great idea. Let's just cripple water security for 40 million Americans and let's fuck up agricultural and energy production. Let's do it. And then, stay with me now, Wig announced that he will be giving a $20 billion contract to Boeing to build fighter jets for the war he's goddamn started. And then we are mourning because the world lost one of the greatest heavyweight champions in history, George Foreman. Going up, George. And then Invader Zim and Doge erased 3.2 million American Social Security data. That shit just sounds illegal. And his reason was, some of them were over 200 years old. I couldn't even get food stamps because the government was so in my goddamn business. And you mean to tell me they overlooked the niggas being 200? Hell no. Y'all get out here and just be saying shit. And then Tesla trade-ins have reached a record high. And I think that y'all should have never bought them ugly ass cars in the first place. What were y'all buying them for? And then Howard Lutnick said only a fraudster would miss a Social Security check.
Wow.
What?
Well, he's my favorite guy. Please follow him. This is not an advertisement. I love him. He's turned his podcast into And Then News. He's hilarious. It's Jess Terrell. So please follow him and tell him I sent your asses over there. Right, Miss Kimberly? I love him. I love him. Guys, we need to end this. I am tired. Charm, I just want to bring you back up again. Tell them again about your astrology class that you're giving on April 12th, everyone.
Yes, come learn about astrology. Come into my magical world of mystical beings. The planetary cycles are moving and affecting us. We are 97% water, so the planets affect you. Okay, so we're gonna learn about the planets. We're gonna learn about the symbols, what the elements are. Week 1, we're gonna get into it. Second week, we're gonna learn about the houses and what they mean in your life, because the planets are your planets when you are born are in certain houses in your chart, if you know what time you were born. So for folks taking the class, please go get a hold of your birth certificate or talk to your granny or your mama or your auntie and them to find out what time you were born, because we're going to need that. And then the aspects are, what are the relationships between the planets and the signs with each other? And so we'll talk about that. It's going to be Saturdays, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live. We'll do that on Google Meets. And if you want to register, the classes are $100 for the 3 weeks, paid in advance, 404-832-5179. And I'm so excited to be teaching astrology, you guys.
We're excited too. And thank you so much, Sean, because we need this information. What did I say? Spiritual, only the spiritual will survive. And that includes learning astrology. Melissa, oh my goodness, cuteness overload.
Yes.
Hi, oh my
goodness. Is it a she or he?
It's a girl, and her name is Ginger.
And what kind of dog is she?
I
Poodle.
think a poodle and a cavalier.
Okay.
All right, Melissa, I don't know how to. Oh, escape. Hold on. Escape. Oh, no. I don't know how to bring us back. There's
you want me to press something?
Oh, I found it.
Melissa, what city are you in?
I live in Connecticut.
Oh, you're in Connecticut. Okay. I'm in the ATL. I'm down here with the lemon pepper.
Born where?
I'm from Houston, Texas, where they learn how to do the tighten up. Y'all know about the tighten up dance? I'm gonna tell you about the tighten up dance. It's an old dance. So get in there, Houston. Oh Lord, this titties, honey. The tighten up. It's an old dance. Okay.
I know that. Yes. Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. So that at the beginning of that song, they say, "Hey, we the tighten up." I can't remember the name of the band that did the tighten up. We're from Houston, Texas, and that's what we do the tighten up, because that come from Houston, Texas.
Oh my God, that's the dance my parents would have done.
Oh yeah. Oh, Dolce Vita knows about the tighten up.
Who knows it? Dolce Vita. Yes, of course, the tighten up. She said.
Tighten up.
Oh God, what's poodle? Remember?
Yeah, yeah, it was poodle and
cavalier, something like that.
Something like that.
Okay. Tighten Up is by Archie Bell and the Drells. We're Archie
Yes.
Bell. Houston, Texas.
Yes.
Tighten up.
All right, guys. Guess what? Good night.
Good
I love
night.
you. Thank you, everyone in the comments. I love when you guys comment so much. Charm, thank you for coming aboard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy. I love you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you, Charm. Melissa, thank you so much for showing up. I'm a gratitude. And Ginger. Hi, Ginger.
Oh, look at her. She looks so cute. I'm with my mommy.
So cute. All right, everyone. Mrs. Kimberly gave us all a kiss.
Oh, good night.
We love you too. Bye.
Bye.
In the heart of the city, there's a lady so divine, with a gift so rare. She can read between the lines, unlocking mysteries. She's the one we all admire. With a touch of magic, she sets our souls on fire. From psychic readings to rosemary oil so pure. Her spirit shines bright, of that I am sure. On TV she graces the screen with grace. Her presence is a blessing in every time and place. Pop culture psychic, in tune with the stars. She sees beyond the veil, even beyond Mars. And when the night falls, Tracy after dark, her wisdom illuminates like a powerful spark. So if you seek guidance, look no further than her door. Tracy Brown live where wisdom does soar. Through the realms of the unseen, she'll light your way. With every word she speaks, darkness turns to day. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong. From psychic readings to rosemary oil so pure, her spirit shines bright, of that I am sure. On TV, she graces the screen with grace. Her presence is a blessing in every time and place. Pop culture psychic, in tune with the stars. She sees beyond the veil, even beyond Mars. And when the night falls, Tracy after dark, her wisdom illuminates like a powerful spark. So if you seek guidance, look no further than her door. Tracy Brown live where wisdom does soar. Through the realms of the unseen, she'll light your way. With every word she speaks, darkness turns to day. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong. Tracy Brown lived the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong.